What's up, y'all? We back to clap back at everything. What's up, Mike Davis?
It feels like it's been forever.
Yes, it has. It has. It has. Well, I am your co-host, Jules Jessie of Converge Media, alongside my co-host, my brother in arms, Mr. Mike Davis. And man, it sounds like we both just hella happy to be back.
Man, and so much happened. I think this is the biggest show sheet we didn't have in a long time. We got so much to cover.
Listen, so we might as well jump into it. But can I just say, for the record, it's hella funny that right when we decided to go on recess, that everything jumped off and there was so many headlines to cover. I was like, dang, every single thing that happened, I was like, I want to talk on clapback. I want to go on clapback. So
anyway, that's always the first thing. That's the first thing that comes to my mind.
Yeah, literally. So I'm so glad to be back. And you guys, this show tonight, we are going to go back to some topics that we just could not help but to touch on. So we are going to talk about some of the things that happened over the last 3 weeks. So let's jump right into it. But something happened that's a fresh story and headline. And that's that Stacey Abrams is going for a second try to become the governor of Georgia. So shout out to Stacey Abrams. She's back on the campaign trail. Like I said, second bid. And she's setting the stage for a possible rematch against Governor Brian Kemp, who we all know that's who she lost to back in 2018. So I don't know, y'all. Get your ballots ready for 2022. What we do know about her is that, you know, she really helped Joe Biden secure the bag, as well as John Ossoff, and
however you say it,
yeah, and Reverend Warnock, and so she helped both of them secure the bag and get their seats, as well as launching the Fair Fight voter protection organization. So Stacey Abrams is going to give Governor Kemp a run for his money. I wouldn't be surprised if she knocks this thing out the park. So I'm rooting for her.
I wouldn't be surprised either. You know, we've been big fans of hers on this show for a minute now. So I was excited to see this news. And, you know, Brian Kemp only beat her by 2 points last time.
Yep.
And after that, she became the mobilization queen, getting everybody to vote for whoever she was supporting. And that little loss was like her only loss. She only seen victory since then. So, I mean, with her power to galvanize voters and to actually get people to come out for others, yeah, she's going to give him a run for his money for sure this time. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I mean, he better get his campaign together, because she's going to go hard. And I think the state of Georgia is really looking forward to her running as well. She's going to have a strong campaign, like you said, and she's been putting in the work over these last couple years.
Yeah,
So
there's
shout
a
out.
lot of there's people there that's really literally voting because of her and her efforts. Like they wasn't even voting until she got them active. So them people's gonna come out for her. So
Yeah,
Kemp better be ready. It's gonna be a
I
fight.
mean, when you lock in 2 senator seats, I mean, you're gonna carry that target audience with you. So
Yeah, yeah. So
strong
good luck.
campaign coming there. Another thing that happened, you guys, a couple weeks ago on Sunday, November 21st, I had to touch on this. This news touched when the Converge team was over in Belize, but I wanted to talk about the Waukesha parade suspect. His mom released a statement today, giving us a little bit more insight on the suspect, right? Even though we know he did it allegedly. But we learned a lot more about this man, and we have a video. And let's go ahead and watch the video. We'll come back and talk about it.
A horrific crime sent shockwaves around the world. 6 innocent people killed and 60 others injured when 39-year-old Daryl Brooks plowed through Waukesha's annual Christmas parade. On Wednesday, Brooks spoke out for the first time from his jail cell to Fox News Digital, telling 2 reporters he was being dehumanized and demonized. He said his mother had not visited him, but the two are very close. Days before the attack, Brooks was arrested in Milwaukee County for attempting to run over the mother of his child. He was released on a $1,000 bail. DA John Chisholm calling the amount inappropriately low. The bail amount is under investigation. Fox 6 has learned Brooks was driving with a suspended license, and the SUV used in both attacks is owned by his mother, Dawn Woods. She is also the one who bailed him out. Multiple efforts to speak with her have been unsuccessful. According to published reports, Woods sent a letter to some media outlets asking for space while also giving her condolences to the families of those killed and injured. She expressed sadness, saying her family's hearts are torn to pieces over what happened. She says her son suffered from mental illness all his life. She goes on to say the system is broken. She says she is not making excuses, but her family believes what happened was a result of her son not having the help and resources he needed. She does not address the low bail amount, the extent of his previous crimes, or him driving her vehicle with a suspended license.
Well, you and I give a lot of people flack about using this mental health defense or whatever. But this is clear as day. I mean, you have to have mental health if you are just days before you try to use your vehicle to run over the mother of your child, and then once you're home on bail, you do the same thing and you kill multiple people and injure almost 50. So this is definitely a mental health case. It doesn't excuse the fact that this happened and that he's absolutely responsible for this. um, but I think we would be remiss if we didn't make note that this is actually something that we criticize often. So what are your thoughts here, Mike?
Well, my thoughts is that we need more facts. I mean, I don't have the facts of the case. I know how many people died. I know how many people are injured, but I don't know any concrete facts as to what his mental state was when this happened, where he was coming from, where he was going to. There's still a lot of pieces, and I do believe that we should hear some of that before we give judgment. I think there's a lot to unpack here. I found it interesting when he said that he felt that he was being dehumanized in the media. And, that really made me think about the photo that they just showed of him in this media clip where he literally looks like a monster. Yet that kid in Michigan that just shot his classmates, the media is running his baby pictures right now. So it's just tough for me as a black man because I want black people to be allowed to have mental health issues too. I feel like we see so often when some white folks do something crazy and hurt a bunch of people, mental health is the first thing on everyone's lips. But when it's someone black, then they just have to be a monster. No, I don't like the mental health argument, but it's because usually it's used to protect white folks. I think this guy is a clear case of someone who is suffering from some sort of mental illness, and we need to find out what was wrong with him, and we need to find out more facts before we condemn him in this case.
I think I only agree with the latter. I agree that, this is definitely a mental health crisis right here rearing its head. And, we do have to do a better job at, following through with wraparound services and figuring out how to support those with mental health needs. But I don't need based on, the victims in this case, the heavy number of victims in this case, I don't think it's hard to kind of figure out what happened. And that would be the same argument that I would offer about the Kyle Rittenhouse case. And that's something we're going to talk a little bit more about. But what we've seen, I think, in the last couple of years, especially with more citizens using their phones to record these things that happen, we do struggle to find that, to really tread that line of due process and really actually looking at a video and kind of like understanding what happened, right? And so to me, I feel like there's a clear picture in what happened here. And this guy Brooks Jr., who was released days before for attempting to run over the mother of his child, and then released on $1,000 bail to go out and then kill what was it, 10 people?
I think it was
6 people and injuring 50. I think this is a clear-cut case in that something is broken in our system. And to me, I agree with your point on that. We have to be able to look at this as a race issue in addition to, but we can't have one without the other, right? And so it's both, right? And so this is a layered situation. I agree, that we have to look at mental health across the board, not just for white folks when it's convenient, not just for Black folks when it's convenient. So we gotta just address it the way it is.
I agree.
Moving on, y'all, because we got a heavy list. Cuddy, is the next thing up? I think it's the Kyle Rittenhouse. I'm not sure. I'm sorry.
It is.
So we just talked about that. So Kyle Rittenhouse, you guys, as you know, was acquitted on all charges, released. This 18-year-old kid is now back into the community, doing multiple interviews, taking photos with Donald Trump down at Mar-a-Lago, doing an interview with Tucker Carlson. I mean, he's taking the stage. We have a clip. Let's run it. We'll come back and talk about it.
Welcome to Mar-a-Lago. It's Kyle Rittenhouse posing with former President Trump. Trump revealed the visit on Fox News last night.
Kyle, I got to know him a little bit. He called. He wanted to know if he could come over. He's a really good young guy. He's 18 years old. Just left Mar-a-Lago a little while ago. And he should never have been put through that.
The visit comes amid controversy over what's being called the lionization of Rittenhouse by some conservatives.
Thank you for having me on.
Meanwhile, in an appearance with Ashley Banfield on News Nation, Rittenhouse tried to explain how he came to give the white power sign in this notorious photo, which was taken in a bar while he was awaiting trial. The men he's posing with are said to belong to the far-right Proud Boys.
Why have you associated with members of groups like the Proud Boys? Why have you used hand signs that are commonly associated with white supremacy?
That's a good question. I didn't know that the OK hand sign was a symbol for white supremacy, just as I didn't know that those people in the bar were Proud Boys.
Was it a complete mystery until the headlines popped up later?
I found out they were Proud Boys when I saw the headlines. I thought they were just a bunch of like construction dudes based on how they looked.
Mike, what are your thoughts on this?
Man, that was a softball interview. I've never seen an interviewer go that soft. She literally pitched him the answer for him to give. I don't know, man. What can you say about this? It's not really surprising. I mean, it's shocking that they would go this hard, this blatantly. I mean, he's kicking it with Trump. Matt Gaetz wants to hire him to be a congressional intern, and Tucker Carlson did a full-blown documentary on this guy. It's like all of the conservatives are rallying around this quote-unquote kid. Trump is talking about how good of a kid he is and how he shouldn't have been through this. I mean, he did shoot 3 people and he killed 2 of them. I don't know how he's not just, a murderer. I mean, even if you get off on murder charges, as a society, we don't have to pretend like you're a good kid. But of course, this is the treatment that you get on the other side, and the conservatives are making rounds, and this kid might actually run for office one day. And the way our country looks right now, he might actually win.
Well, I watched more of that interview. It's about a 45-minute interview. And you're right, it's super softball. She didn't go hard at all. Even the interview with Tucker Carlson was like super, super, super soft. No one's really coming at him hard because there's a lot of empathy being offered to him, and people are more interested in hearing his story than, really kind of trying to, I think, kind of get their feelings across. And they kind of want to know I think the PR right now is to humanize him. And so a lot of it is him talking about his future plans, and that he's going to school for nursing, and that he wants to kind of just live, this low key lifestyle. But on the contrary, it's like you're pulling up to Mar-a-Lago and taking pictures with Donald Trump, who is exactly what you say that you're not about, right? And so this whole idea of like, oh, I didn't know that they were Proud Boys until social media gassed it up, is BS. And Kyle Rittenhouse is, he's talking about changing his appearance, talking about changing his name. Oh, woe is me, I'll never be able to get a job. I have to have security detail everywhere I go because of these death threats. I mean, honestly, I don't see Kyle Rittenhouse living a full and fulfilled life moving forward. So even though he was acquitted on all charges, I don't think he's like, when you think about value for life, or like your type of life, what kind of life does he have after this? Like, this is the worst set of circumstances. It's almost like you almost better off doing some time and then coming home. But I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe. I mean, if he's gonna lean into this far right identity, then he might be okay. I think the next election will probably say a lot for this young man's future. It's tough because I do understand what you're saying, but the way that he's being propped up right now, the way that he's become a symbol for all these right wingers, there are going to be ways for him to monetize that, unfortunately, and there are going to be opportunities that are going to come out of that. I wouldn't be surprised if this kid gets to write a book. I mean, there's just a lot of
Mike Gates offered him an internship, and another congressperson. The thing is, though, too, Mike, you have to understand, and I think you would agree with me, is that people are also using him as a PR tool, right? So they're spinning the story to fit the narrative that they want just as much, to show that he is the face of, this of justice, right? He's the new face of national America. And and so even if he's not totally 100%, I mean, where does he go from here? He absolutely has to turn to that side because he doesn't have any other options. So if he wasn't a Proud Boy before, he damn sure should be a Proud Boy now, because that's the only person who's going to have his back.
Yeah, absolutely.
So another thing, and I see you guys have pulled up in the comments and are talking about it, the Kim Potter trial. We know that jury selection began on Tuesday. They're talking about the trial starting as early as this month. And basically, you guys, just to catch you up, it's the police officer in the Brooklyn Center, Minneapolis, who said she mistook her gun for her taser when she shot and killed the 20-year-old Black man, Dante Wright, in April of this year. In April. She faces 2 manslaughter charges. Her criminal trial is expected, like I said, early this month. Both prosecutors and defense lawyers agree on the facts that the shooting was an accident, but prosecutors say Potter's actions were criminally negligent. And so that's everything that this trial is going to be about. I see something in the comments, though, and I'm going to scroll back up. I think Amy posted it. Amy Miller said, did you hear the
Can you
car?
Put that up, Cuddy?
Yeah, Cuddy, if you can just post this up. I did not hear this, Amy. Did you hear the car driving through protesters outside of the Potter trial? They got description of the license plate of white driver, gave to police who did nothing. I did not hear about that, but I will look that up afterwards. This whole using your vehicle as a weapon of mass destruction is not okay.
Not at all.
And I also think that people are getting way too radicalized. Like, yes, something happened, but I mean, are you really like, I'm not so strongly convicted to be like, you know what, I'm just gonna go kill somebody too. Like, it's just,
yes, I feel you. I don't connect to that either. It makes no sense to me. Who would
I do not subscribe to that. But so let's go back to the trial. So Kim Potter, she's now preparing for trial. They're saying they're going to have closing arguments by Christmas Eve. I mean, what a sad way to spend the holidays. It's just, I'm sorry. Like, I mean, not that it matters to, Dante Wright, but the facts are the facts. It's an accidental shooting, and there is some negligence, right? And so the best thing is that, you know, they do agree on the facts. The facts that is that this was a shooting that should not have happened. Now we need to make a decision on what those charges are going to be. So she's absolutely going to be charged.
Yeah.
If you ask me, there's no way for her not to be charged in this case. You cannot be a police officer and make a fatal mistake in this capacity. I don't think you could be in any position in life and make a fatal mistake in this capacity and not be criminally charged. And so was it an accident? Maybe. That's for the courts to decide, and she'll have her day for due process.
Yeah, I don't know. Look, I can't say whether it's an accident or not. I know what I think, but at the end of the day, there are certain facts. I think one fact that's going to hurt her is that she was on the police force for 26 years. This isn't a mistake that we're going to let slide from a veteran officer. It's also been reported that she was like a trainer within the police force. So yeah, she was. So she really should have known. So yeah, I mean, these there should be some charges. She should definitely be convicted. I mean, this is negligent. I mean, this is the other side. You know, police want to be called heroes. You want to be held to that higher standard. Okay, cool. But like, this is the other side of that. We're going to hold you to the highest of standards because you do have people's lives in your hands. And she did take a life, and she should have to answer for that.
So the defense attorneys, the defense lawyers in this case are arguing that because Daunte Wright was resisting arrest, a use of force was authorized, and that Potter was not consciously aware that she was holding her gun and is therefore innocent. Shout out one more time to Amy Miller for all the facts. She also posted that, you know, just some facts in this case, that not only is Potter a trainer, but also her husband. And so yeah, this is not the type of mistake that you want to make. So
no, and I think and like, even from the stop itself, I mean, his mom said that he believed he was stopped because his air freshener was hanging from the rear view mirror, which is illegal there. The police are saying that he was stopped, I think, because his license plate was expired. But no matter how you slice it, there is a national conversation about what police
over in the
exactly should police be pulling people over for things this minor, especially when people end up dead behind it. And I think that that's a conversation that I hope comes from this. And man, just my heart goes out to his family. I mean, like you said, the date of this trial hits right smack on the holiday, and that's where his family and his kids, his mom is going to be. Man, that's sad.
Well, we will keep you guys posted on this for sure, and you know, keep you guys with the updates. This is definitely something to watch. I mean, we are at all of these police shootings are now in court, and so we're going to be here and we're going to be talking about it. Moving forward, you guys, now we know that there's a new COVID-19 variant, the Omicron variant. And the Omicron variant is a concern, but in the US, we're kind of in a different place from the pandemic, according to the US the US Surgeon General. And the US Surgeon General basically is just saying that we need to double down on using our mask and using all of our protective tools, getting vaccinated. And it's kind of saying that everything should be straight. So I don't know. You know, the Surgeon General just hold it down. We need to keep using our strategy, our vaccination strategy, and all those tools that we have in place and get through the winter.
Look, man,
I think we don't have any other option.
Look, y'all can either get vaccinated or not. The choice is yours, but this thing is coming here. All the variants are going to make it to the U.S. because of how we're out here living. So either protect yourself or you roll those dice. But that's all we're going to do.
Well, a lot of the cases that have, you know, it already hit the U.S. There's cases in New York that I know for sure. Cases in California. It's already here as of, I think, maybe 2 days ago. So it is here and it's going to spread. And people who are fully vaccinated have already been found to have that case, but mild cases. So yeah, get vaxxed, sit back, relax, and you know, let's just get through the winter.
What you think about these countries that are getting tougher with their lockdown restrictions? Have you been aware of any of that? Like Australia over there arresting folks and
Belize, when we were in Belize, I just couldn't believe, like, when they have curfew, their curfew's 9 p.m., 10 p.m.
Are you serious?
Oh, listen. And when I say that curfew hits, people are scattering like roaches 30 minutes before. People are up out of here. Okay.
Wow.
So shout out to Belize, because their residents are compliant. Okay. it almost took me back to how we were in the beginning of the pandemic and how people were just so on it. And now we're just so super lackadaisical. I literally was like, oh, okay, so Jules, you need to be wearing your mask more. Like, you need to tighten up more. You need to, so I think some of those countries are doing a great job with maintaining that. I think it is, in some countries possibly hurting the workforce and hurting the businesses and things like that. But if they don't have the resources, the medical resources, the vaccination resources, or don't have that kind of strategy in place for their people, then it just makes sense to continue with the lockdown. So I don't know. I know Australia has been going hard, super hard, but I don't know.
Yeah, we gotta talk next week, because I know we got a lot. We should definitely put this on the docket, because we gotta move on. We gotta talk about Cuomo, the Cuomos, the bros.
Okay, well, let's talk about that really quick. We don't have an overlay or a clip, so we were gonna skip past that. But CNN has suspended Chris Cuomo indefinitely following, and it's, Mike, he must have some notes on this, suspended Chris Cuomo indefinitely pending evaluation of his involvement in his brother's scandal. I think this is crazy, but 3 days after the New York Times broke the story on Anna Rich, who is one of the accusers to his brother Andrew Cuomo, former governor, who alleged the governor sexually harassed her in a 2019 wedding reception. Chris Cuomo got caught up sending a text to say, I have a lead on the wedding girl. So CNN basically let out a statement that said, listen, we learned a little bit more about Chris's involvement, and it seems that he's kind of being more of an advisor to his brother than we previously understood, and that's not within our guidelines. So they just have suspended him indefinitely.
Okay. I really just wanted your thoughts. I thought it was interesting. If it was my brother, I think I would have did the same thing, man. I feel him. I mean, you got to ride for bro. It is not clear to me what rule he actually broke. He didn't reach out to any of the victims. He was just asking other journalists, what's coming down the pipeline. That's a no-no.
Yeah, it's a no-no. I mean,
journalists talk all the time.
I think it's just frowned upon, and I think they probably found something in his contract so that they could just distance themselves from the situation. But I agree with you. If this were my brother, listen, and Chris is an attorney, so I would definitely be advising my brother, not only legally but politically, to make sure that he was straight. So
off top, I'm getting fired for bro.
Yeah, sorry. And they gonna be straight. So it's
exactly. He don't need that job. He's still on the radio. He'll be all right.
I mean, in CNN, but this is the thing, though. I mean, Cuomo Primetime it has their highest ratings on CNN.
It's their most popular show.
9 p.m. So this is the thing. I think whatever they found, they needed to distance themselves, and it was worth distancing themselves because they let go of a major show. So we need to keep that in mind too, that CNN's not just going to let go just to let go. This was too big of a scandal, too big of a risk, and they calculated them dollars to say, you know what, not this time, not this thing.
So we're going to follow up because there will be more. I think you're right about that because that was their most popular show. They're not going to cancel that flippantly, especially for like these little things that have been released so far. There got to be something bigger. So when that happens, y'all know we'll be right back with it.
I'm telling you, follow that money trail. But look, y'all, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we got a couple highlights to talk about and do it for the culture.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.
All right, y'all. Welcome back to Clapback Culture. And, you know, we got to have a little conversation about the culture section, you guys. We did lose a really big figure in fashion, art, and design, Virgil Abloh. And rest in peace. You know, he was the first African American to be the artistic director, of Louis Vuitton and in the menswear division. But he was also, you know, just a trailblazer, a really fashion forward trailblazer. And he went on to partner with Nike to create the brand Off-White, which is super dope. And he passed away in a private battle of cancer, of a rare form of cancer that he fought for the last 2 years. And so we want to just pay our respects to him. I found what somebody said about him, Mike, and I thought this was really beautiful to say. They said he understood better than anyone working today that design, art, and craft in all facets, forms, and scales are interrelated. He was truly an interdisciplinary designer and a world changer. Some interesting facts outside of fashion is that he also designed furniture for IKEA, bottles for Evian, and Big Mac packaging for McDonald's. So that's really, really dope.
Yeah, he's the guy. He did a lot of album covers as well. And for years, when people were trying to say that Kanye was a genius, man, Virgil was actually behind a lot of the stuff that Kanye was getting credit for. He's a trailblazer. He's one of the cats that really took streetwear brands and brought them mainstream. Yeah, brought it commercial, really put it on a bigger platform. And even though, you know, there was a couple things, you know, he might have been accused of stepping on some of the smaller brands and this and that, but even those folks are all showing love right now, man. Nobody can deny what he did for the culture, man. That was a major loss for us. So anybody out there, man, you got some Off-White, man, wear it for Virgil one time.
Hell yeah. And I'm sure all of that is going to be like priced hella high right now. I mean, it was already luxury, affordable. And so it just breaks my heart though. 41 years old, you leave behind a family. I mean,
man,
gone way too soon.
It's a major blow.
Another person gone too soon is Young Dolph, y'all. We lost Young Dolph to
he was taken.
A vicious, senseless killing. He was fatally shot in Tennessee, his hometown, in his own hood, mind you, on November 17th, 2021. The shooting happened at Makeda's Butter Cookies, which was a cookie shop that he frequented. Not only did he frequent it, but he was helping them to promote because he loved the cookies so much. And while he was in the cookie shop, two shooters ran up on him and gunned him down. And that's all she wrote.
That's crazy. We lost Virgil, but Dolph was taken. You know what I'm saying? Like that hit in a totally different way, man. He was literally in Memphis to do his annual turkey giveaway. Like he stopped at the cookie shop and was on his way to give out turkeys to people in need and got killed before he could even do so. Like that's just, I mean, it's just a tragedy. It's a tragedy.
Let me ask you this. I wanted to get your thoughts on this. And a couple of us were chatting about this. The way that Young Dolph was killed is not like an accidental shooting. Like it was extremely intentional, extremely violent. What are your thoughts on that? Because it's like on one side of the coin, it's like, yeah, he was getting ready to go do a turkey drive. But at the same side, it's like clearly he was in the streets. And that doesn't mean that you should be killed, but I'm saying if you're in the streets, is that something, should we one, be so shocked, and two, like, how do we, is it okay that we're kind of compartmentalizing this and saying, like, because we are amplifying the fact that he was he was a giver, that he put a lot of people on, that he changed music. I mean, he gave us Get Paid, you know what I'm saying? He gave us a lot of good music. He gave us a lot, and he did a lot for his community and other people. He was a tremendous father from what we understand and see on social media, but he's clearly heavily rooted in the streets.
I think
How do we,
I think it's a complex answer, and I think his death, honestly, it made me think a lot about Nipsey Hussle. And I see Harry Jefferson in the comments saying he's not sure that Young Dolph was in the streets. I would say not anymore. And that's kind of the same thing that we saw with Nipsey. It's like you're a product of your environment. You grow up where you grow up, and you have to do what you got to do to survive every day. And sometimes that means living a certain sort of lifestyle. The drawback to that is sometimes people like Nip, like Dolph, they're able to rise above that and they're able to become something, but they still got love for their community. They still got love for where they grew up. They still got love for the people that they grew up with. So they're compelled to come back and try to build up the community. But sometimes old beef doesn't die.
yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you. It does look like it was an inside job. They got pictures of the shooters, man. Somebody pulled up with the Draco, and I mean, they let him have it. It was clear. That doesn't mean that he was doing those things now. That could have been somebody that was jealous. That could have been somebody that he had beef with 10 years ago that just they're still in that mindset and they never let it go. So it's just a really tough thing. And I know people are down on Boosie right now, but I think Lil Boosie said it best in one of the interviews that I seen him do when he talked about why he doesn't live in Louisiana was because when he was in Louisiana, he run into people from second grade who was still hating on him from way back in the day. And there's just so many people in your city that are going to hate on you that sometimes it's even more dangerous staying where you're from than moving on and going to places where everybody that you see, all they got for you is love. So it is a tragedy that he died, and we are highlighting the good things that he does because that's the life that he's living today. I think he got killed for the life that he was living yesterday.
Couldn't have said it best. I think Harry Jefferson, if we can put this comment up, for Black men, they start in the streets and graduate to fathers, family men, and then into businessmen. I think the street persona was for the sales at this point. Dolph been in the game forever.
Right.
I think the both of you guys really wrap this up and sum it up and correctly. It is what it is. Like you can become change, but if the hood doesn't change and they still see you for what happened before or jealous because of a past time or a past whatever, I mean that's just kind of how it goes. So
it's different for rappers than it is for basketball players, you know? Like Jamal Crawford is going to be good in Seattle. He's just a hooper. But if you was a street dude that was really out here active at one point, man, there's going to be people that's not going to let it go.
And it really breaks my heart.
It's heartbreaking.
I mean, his wife, his kids. I mean, at the end of the day, when you leave behind just a beautiful family like that, it's just like I was reading some of her statements and her posts on Instagram, and I don't know how she's getting through. And she's just kind of like just out of breath.
And I hear, like, I'm looking at Egypt's comment to stay out the hood, but like you gotta understand, Egypt, Dolph was known for going back to his old schools. Like, bro would go back to the schools that he went to talk to those kids and let them know that, you know, they could make it too. If he made it out, you can make it out. Like, it's hard to not be able to do those things. It's not fair that we're not able to do those things.
I would say that it's not fair that you can't go back and do it. But I mean, when you have lived a particular lifestyle at one point, I mean, you got to think, what's his name? I think he's locked up right now. Who he was beefing with, who already tried to kill Dolph back.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, at the end of the day, we've already tied a bow on this thing. We already know what's going on. It's just one of those things, and this is a part of the culture that we do need to change. That old beefs, to Harry Jefferson point, old beefs don't never die, and so it's tough to separate that. And it's just unfortunate that this happened to somebody who absolutely changed their life. All right. Another thing, I guess this was a win for the culture, y'all. And this was something that I highly celebrated, was that the murderers in Ahmaud Arbery's case were convicted on all counts. And here, we kind of want to talk about what is expected for sentencing. So even though the verdicts have been handed down, we don't have a date for sentencing yet. Nothing has been announced by the judge. So I'm sitting patiently waiting for that. But I wanted to know, what are we looking at for malice murder? We have a small clip. Let's go ahead and run that, and we'll come back and talk about it.
Eligible for parole, period. End of discussion. So unless it's reversed on appeal, and I don't see that happening, then he is going to spend the rest of his life in prison. Whereas the other two defendants, where they were convicted of felony murder, they're eligible for parole in about 7 years. Will they make parole? The average person who is incarcerated who makes parole spends somewhere between 25 and 26 years in prison. So it may not make a difference, but at least they have some shot of being released at some point in their life.
There was a lot in the build-up to this case of race and the role it will play. When this actually got to a courtroom, we saw very little discussed of race in this case. Of course, there was mentioning 11 white jurors, 1 black juror. The prosecution really didn't bring race into the courtroom, but now there's federal hate crime charges. That case is still pending. Do federal prosecutors, bring this conviction into the courtroom? Do they have to present a much different case because of the hate crime charges?
Well, I think the hate crime charges federally are done as a backup in case one or more of these defendants were acquitted. I think that they have those hate charges, crimes to prosecute later. But because it has already been adjudicated, because the 3 of them have been convicted, I wouldn't be surprised if the Fed said, you know what, we're not going to prosecute them. Because the reality is, how much more time can they get? You can't get more time than you're alive. But they may do it because they think it's appropriate, and they're trying to send a message to the rest of this country, you can't do what these 3 people did.
What, as a former prosecutor?
And there you have it. So let me see. So it is being reported that the state is going to be asking for life without parole plus 35 years for Travis and Gregory McMichael, and life without parole plus 15 years for Brian. I don't know what they're going to get in this case, but I do absolutely believe that the McMichael, that the son who Travis McMichael, who shot and killed Ahmaud Arbery, who held the gun, I think is absolutely going to be sentenced to life.
Yeah, the one that pulled the trigger, that's getting the malice murder charges, sounds like whatever time he gets, he'll have to serve all of it. I think they're asking for everything. I don't know if they'll get that much. I hope they do, but also, on the back end, there is the possibility for the federal hate crime charges. So if this judge does do something slick and not try to give them sufficient time, there is still room on the back end for the feds to come in and still try to get them. So these guys should die in prison.
Yeah, and I think they probably will. I think there's no question about that. This was a huge victory and a celebration. I think, I just watched so much footage of Ahmaud Arbery's mother, and just everything that she kind of went through and has processed. And I just can't imagine the relief that she feels in this, having seen so many people being acquitted, and just being able to go home and just to see this all the way through. And something like this is it's like vigilante, right?
That's what I was going to touch on as well.
Yeah, it's very vigilante justice. And I don't know. There were so many balls dropped in this case that, for the fact that these guys got to go home. I mean, they
tried not to charge them. They tried not to charge them in the first place. If there was no video, we wouldn't even be sitting here discussing it right now.
I think not only any video, but any video to provoke public outrage. And this hit at the perfect time where people actually got to sit, analyze the video, and then go out and tweet about it, go out and call people about it, get out and protest about it. And so it sucks that you kind of have to have all of those situations kind of, in conjunction with each other to get this kind of verdict and outcome. But it's even crazy that like our civil rights leaders had to sit in the courtroom, and even that was touched upon, and they didn't want that. Which other Black, reverend are you going to have in here? So it's crazy.
I just want the sentencing to be strong, because the message really does need to be sent, man. We can't just have these white guys out here just taking the law into their own hands, especially private citizens. And I use that term really loosely because Ahmaud didn't commit any crime. So like the idea that they felt that this could be they really went to court on the idea of a citizen's arrest when there was no crime even committed. This was literally just white guys deciding that they didn't want a Black boy in his own neighborhood. So I really just want to see a message being sent that we are allowed to exist in our neighborhoods. Your neighborhood is not exclusive, and you can't just hunt somebody down and kill him because his appearance makes you feel uncomfortable, because that's literally what we saw in this case.
100%. We don't have time for a break, so let's just roll right into our final clapback topic, y'all. I've been wanting to talk about this since last month, and it seemed like we took a break exactly when this happened. But I wanted to touch on the Travis Scott and the Astroworld concert. Cuddy, can you put in the chat how long this video is, and if we have time to play the video?
It's 2 minutes.
Okay, cool. So Travis Scott, you guys, had a concert in Houston, the Astroworld concert, and now at that 10 people died, 11 people, excuse me. Well, let's play the video. Let's play the video. We'll come back and we'll talk about it.
On the evening of November 5th, tens of thousands of people in NRG Park in Houston waited in anticipation of rapper Travis Scott's performance. Let's go! But revelry quickly turned to tragedy. Ten people died and dozens were injured. To illuminate what happened amid the crowd, the Washington Post gathered dozens of videos from that night and examined them to determine where and when each was taken. We interviewed witnesses.
Got sucked into this black hole, basically.
And we had experts analyze the movements of the crowd and its density in key areas. The Post investigation found that at least 7 of those who later died were located in one area of the audience. 3 of those victims can be seen unconscious amid a pile of fans on the ground about 16 minutes into the show, which continued for nearly an hour. The review also reveals that minutes into Scott's show, that same section had pockets of extremely high density, according to a crowd analysis done for the Post. A circumstance that 3 experts said increased the risk of a dangerous crowd collapse. 3 crowd science experts told the Post that a surge toward the main stage would have compressed people into this area that had rigid metal barriers on 3 sides and left little way for them to escape the building pressure. A criminal investigation is ongoing, and the causes of deaths have not been made public. But the Post's reconstruction, which includes exclusively obtained videos, shows how one section of the audience became an epicenter of chaos.
When I woke up to this story, I saw it as a headline, and I had to dig to figure out what was going on. And I'm like, how did people die? I don't get it. I'm thinking it was like a mass shooting or something. And to understand that young people were in an audience to see a concert and died from cardiac arrest from being crushed is unbelievable. And so now we're having a conversation, you guys, on who is to be held responsible, who's liable in this case. There's at least 46 civil lawsuits, Mike, have been filed in Texas seeking damages for the death or injury with Travis Scott, Drake, who performed at the concert, as well as Live Nation Entertainment, among others that are being sued. In one lawsuit, Scott is being accused of actively encouraging and fomenting dangerous behaviors that led to the death, as well as 23 people being hospitalized, 11 people going into cardiac arrest, and more than 300 people being treated for injuries on the site.
Yo, I didn't even realize that was a way people was dying at concerts, like trampled to death or trampled to the point of cardiac arrest. Like
Trampled and crushed.
when you look at the videos, I mean, it's wow. Like people were yelling and screaming for help, and the show is just going on, man.
48 minutes.
I don't even know what to say about that. I know you guys seen that video with the cameraman where somebody, and it's like, I don't even know the power that camera person would have had to stop the show, but just the fact that someone climbed up there to get the show stopped, and still it's just business as usual. Somebody's gonna have to answer for this. I don't know who. I don't know how that works. I don't know who to blame. I don't know the view from the stage. That's just, I mean, man, we talked about a lot of death, but this
one is crazy. Let's talk a little bit about responsibility. And here's why I feel that Travis Scott is absolutely going to face some responsibility for this. Well, one, this has happened historically at other concerts, right? It happened at the Who concert back in like the 80s, the early 80s. And then I think it also happened at another concert, at a Pearl Jam concert back in 2000, when 9 people were trampled to death at a festival in Denmark. So this is not something that hasn't happened before, but to this magnitude at this day and age. And none of the performers in those 2 previous cases were ever charged or had anything to do with it. The reason that Travis Scott is being named in these lawsuits is because he is also one of the organizers of the event. He wasn't just a performer. And so because he was one of the organizers of the event, he falls into the category with Live Nation and everything like that. So the organizers were well aware of the potential risk before the concert began, during the concert prep. Yeah. And they were responsible for hiring the security. They were responsible for providing emergency medical services, controlling the crowd, and forging evacuation routes. The attorneys for the festivals of the victims are basically arguing that the organizers were unprepared to the point of negligence. I mean, here we are. If you watch some of the videos, like these people who are attending the concert are ripping through the security barricades. They're ripping through everything. I mean, they're going ham. The energy, I've never seen Travis Scott before, but the energy right before he got on, it's just like, it's a swoop.
I've never heard of that either. And I think my ignorance on that point, when you named off the shows where this has happened before, it wasn't rap shows. Like right. You won't be seeing this at rap concerts. But what I will say is, I find it interesting. Number one, I mean, Travis Scott's brand. If you know anything about Travis Scott, like inciting the crowd to get as crazy as, like, that's been his thing for years, and he's had to address that before. But also
been arrested before.
Exactly.
For riot.
As a matter of fact, the police department sat them down before the show to discuss the safety protocols, which is interesting because there are interviews with security guards who were hired, no experience. They didn't have to show no ID. They had no background in crowd control. Some of them were like fresh 18. And when the crowd got crazy, they had no idea what to do because they had no training. They just... You know, one of the dudes said that him and his cousin had to get out of there, and they were security. So somebody will be liable. I just don't know who. And like, I don't know if we're talking about a civil case or a criminal case. I know that Travis Scott has offered to pay for some funerals, and people have already declined him on that, which is
$7,500.
So, which is, I don't even know why he would make himself look bad by making an offer like that. He tried to refund tickets. It's like, yo, that's a bad look. Like, people die.
Well, it's a smart look legally, because if people accept the refund, then they can't file a lawsuit. So that's why that's why he wants people to.
That's sleazy though. That's so sleazy.
It's very sleazy, but if you got 55,000 people who could come at your neck, I mean, you better do something.
Get some of that Kardashian money.
It definitely was alleged. I heard on the Breakfast Club, they reported that he offered $7,500 to the 9-year-old boy who was killed, who was crushed to death at his show. They offered the father, the family, $7,500 to go towards the funeral services.
Y'all stop taking your kids to these concerts too, man. Y'all is crazy.
Well, I thought that too, but I think 9 is young to go to a Travis Scott concert. Very young.
It's very young. That 9-year-old was hot.
It's not a place for a kid.
It's not. I ain't been the last 3-4 major concerts I've been to. The whole crowd is smoking weed. You got your kid in there secondhand smoking that. What are you doing?
Smoking weed, off the pills, cussing, drinking, fighting.
It's not for your 9-year-old.
Not a safe place. I mean, you shouldn't have your kids around 50,000 adults.
Oh man.
Like, I want to keep and maybe the father felt like he could just handle it, and they did it. He was, I don't know.
He probably did, man. Look, my daughter loves Migos, but when they came and I went, she couldn't come.
She's not going.
What do you mean?
You're not going to a concert. Yeah, I agree.
It's a sad situation, and he's gonna get sued to high hell. So we'll see how he survives.
Well, another thing that's happening too is that the Kardashian family is also distancing themselves from that, and they've held back a lot of their launches because they don't want to seem not sympathetic to this cause, and so they're pulling themselves away from this whole thing. They actually, Kylie and Travis did a shoot with some magazine. I don't remember the name of the magazine, but they're actually paying people to pull it off the shelves so that they don't seem insensitive during this time. So I think Travis Scott is, I don't think he knew the magnitude to what was happening in the crowd at the time of the show. But I think if you watch some of the footage that they played, one, they did show people, they did show a clip where he stopped the crowd and asked for emergency assistance. But then they also show that people went up to him and said, hey, listen, this is not safe. And he tells them to go ahead. And so at some point, if you sign on to be not only the performer, but the organizer and a supervisor, one of the only people to be able to call the show off, you absolutely should be held responsible.
Yes. And you took shortcuts on security staff. You're going to have to answer. Yeah, that has to be answered for.
Unfortunately, this is a horrible lesson for, I think, him to learn. He's a young guy. And, when you live this kind of life and you're not the person standing in this crowd and you just get to be the top of the thing, you don't really, I think people are just so out of touch. Like, you don't understand that it's a safety concern because your girl gets to sit in an air-conditioned bus. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's not like you're out of touch because even though you love your fans, you think that you're helping them because they want that experience. They want to feel you. They want to have that energy. I mean, even when you watch the clips, I mean, that energy is on. Like, Travis Scott brings it. That's why he's an amazing performer, and his music brings that type of energy that people want, which is why they're mosh pitting in the first place. But if you're creating a dangerous and hazardous environment to your fans, how can you say that you love and care about them?
You're absolutely right.
It's not okay. And so I hate for anybody to have to take this L, but Travis Scott and Live Nation and the other organizers are going to have to take the L on this one.
10 people lost their lives. Yeah, they're going to have to take the L in a big
on top of hundreds of people being injured.
Yes.
Like, that's not cool. Like, we can't have that. We just absolutely cannot have that. So, I think that's our show, Mike. That's our show. I'm so glad to be back, you guys. You have
Me too. And I'm so glad all y'all showed up to rock with us first day back. Appreciate all y'all.
Yes. We had a full house today in here, Mike Davis.
We did.
Like a full house. Shout out to everybody who pulled up. I love you guys in the comments. Thank you guys for coming back every week. We will be here next Thursday right on time. And we're gonna have a great show for you. Please make sure you guys DM us, send us messages on what you guys want to talk about, what you want to know about, what you want us to clap back about. Mike Davis, when you're not here, where can they find you?
South Seattle Emerald. Anywhere the South Seattle Emerald is, you will find your boy. Also, December 16th, KUOW Year in Review. We are live at Town Hall Seattle. Tickets is selling fast. Come check me out.
All right, perfect. Well, when I'm not here, you guys can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Treasure of JULES. You know what it is. Thank you for following me and pulling up. And one shameless plug, I want to invite everybody, all my DC followers, everyone from DC who watches the show. I'm hosting a sip-in shop on Saturday to support locally owned businesses from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Arc Black Box right there on Mississippi Avenue. Please pull up, bring an unwrapped toy for entry so we can give it away to the kids. We're going to support Council Member White's toy giveaway on the 22nd. But this Saturday, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., the Sip and Shop. Come shop, stay to sip, bring your friends, bring your family. It should be a good time.
That's what's up.
All right, y'all. That's our show. This is Clapback Culture. We'll see you next week.
Peace.